Welcome to the Easier Way to Sell presentation of Close the Deal Without Selling. Here's your host and developer of the Easier Way to Sell, Ike Krieger.
Hey, this is Ike Krieger. Welcome back. By now, you know how much I like to give you lists of things. Well, brace yourself because this segment has another list. You've heard me say that my mission is to be the cause of effective communication in the world, and in order to achieve that goal, I need to assist you in becoming the cause of effective communication in the world. In order to accomplish that, I'm committed to helping you transform yourself into the equivalent of a black belt communicator. Here's what your profile would sound like at that highest level of communication. You're a skillful conversationalist. You have excellent listening skills. You ask the right questions. You're a problem solver. You leave judgment at the door. You remain curious, authentic, and neutral. You create mutually beneficial agreements. You create relationships through authentic curiosity. You listen actively and make an effort to understand. You listen with all your senses. You have top-shelf questioning skills. You understand that the one who asks the question and listens carefully controls the communication. You're aware that the one doing the talking usually dominates the communication. You know that the meaning of any communication is the response you get. You communicate what you want rather than what you don't want. You understand that whatever follows a negative command cannot not be followed. An example of this is telling a child, don't go in the street, rather than telling them to stay on the sidewalk, or commanding someone, don't be late, rather than communicating, be on time. You know that there's no failure, only results. You know that if what you're doing isn't working, you should do something else. You know when to stop talking. You know when it's time for others to be heard. You are patient. You avoid selling. You diagnose before you prescribe. You acknowledge others, and you hear what's being said rather than what you would like to hear. And of course, I expect you to be perfect on all of these by tomorrow. Well, I'd like you to start working on them today. That's a pretty well-rounded description of a black belt communicator. You know what wasn't in there? What wasn't in there, what wasn't on that list, was your ability to deliver a sales presentation. I'm asking you to ditch your pitch. You don't need to tell people why they should buy from you. Your job is to follow this system. When you follow this system, you'll have a conversation in which people tell you why they want what you're offering. This probably still sounds backwards, but this approach offers you the easier way to sell. Take it. In the martial arts, you have drills called kata forms. Kata is a synthesis of dance and combat, and the same holds true for the art of effective communication. Kata forms are a dance-like representation of your combat moves. Learn your combat moves, learn your kata. It's the same thing. They both need to be a part of who you are, not something you just do. Well, in a martial arts class, you learn how to block a punch. In an actual combat, if you have to think about a specific technique for blocking a punch, you're going to get hit 3 times before you remember, and by then it will be too late. The same is true for this training. You can learn my drills and techniques, but they must become who you are as a communicator, or you won't have the time to remember them when you need them. As a top-shelf communicator, you do what effective communicators do and have what effective communicators have. You achieve your success by choice, not chance. What goes through your mind that holds you back? What is it that you must face on the road to effective communication? You know that there must be a way to increase your effectiveness and your success, but you haven't found it yet. You know that you're frustrated because something to which you aspire about you and your life is not quite perfect enough or not quite complete enough. You may still be looking for it. As for me, I'm happy that you're still seeking that perfection, or you wouldn't listen to programs like this. But some people, maybe even you, become discouraged. You may be suffering some form of overwhelm right now, and if you're like most people, you have not been taught how to handle that. You may have even come to believe that there is no way to handle it. You believe a giant wall stands between what you have and what you want and feel you deserve. And you know you could break through if only you could resign yourself to the idea that you need to work harder. So all you have to do is work harder and work smarter. And that will give you everything that you want in your life, except there's a wall out there. And you may already be working hard enough. You need to forget about the wall. If you can't forget, you have only one option. And that one option, the only way to achieve your outcome, your success, your goals, is to break through that wall of frustration. You get yourself motivated. You get yourself prepared. You get a motivated mindset. You dedicate yourself to working harder than ever. You reset your goals. You do whatever you have to do to motivate yourself and find the strength and the will to smash through that wall. But the wall is hard, and after a while, we humans grow weary of getting banged up. So why do you do it then? You rededicate yourself to the task of breaking through the wall, or you take a good stiff drink, which doesn't solve the problem, but only postpones it, and you bang into that wall for years. What if you were told that there's a door in the wall? What if there is a door in the wall? What if a door in the wall existed? Well, what's kept you from seeing it? Is it conceivable that you've never been trained to recognize this form of a door? What if there is a door to the other side of the wall and you just have not been trained to recognize it? If there's even a possibility that this system helps you discover and open that door, I say, take it. If you knew the door was there, then you would have the choice of opening it and walking through it or not. You don't have to go through the new door. You can continue doing what you're doing. And you can break through. It's been done before, and you can do it again. Because what you're doing to break through works for some people, and it never works for others. You can break through the wall. The wall is hard. Breaking through is difficult, it's stressful, it's frustrating and painful, but you can do it. So, this model of mine can be compared to the possibility of a doorway leading to the other side of the wall. Think about that. No more trying to break through. This is a door you didn't know about, and now you do. Imagine opening that door in the wall. You walk through the doorway to the other side of the wall, and what you're looking at is like a scene out of The Wizard of Oz, except in this version you see the future that you say you want. You turn back towards the doorway, and you're startled by what you see. Actually, you're startled by what you don't see. There is no door. There is no wall. You smile as you realize there was never a wall in the first place. Your speaking ability and your communications effectiveness are two entirely different skill sets. You may be a good communicator, yet you find yourself to be an ineffective public speaker, or maybe the other way around. I've been coaching you now for 20 plus episodes, and I've asked you to remain as authentic as you possibly can be in your communications. And I've asked that you be who you are so you can be perceived that way by others. And remember, the meaning of your communication is the response that you get. I'm asking you to be great at both communicating and speaking. Now I'm asking you to further your training and sharpen your skill set with an assignment that will help you attain excellence in both. 1. I'd like you to find your nearest Toastmasters group and join immediately. I taught speech at the college level. I was a professional actor. My communication skills became so much better after Toastmasters that I always give them a shout out. I was a really good communicator before I took a stab at Toastmasters. I was even better from then on. Number 2, take an acting class. No matter where you are in the world, I have confidence that you can find an acting class. In that acting class, you'll learn the words of others and convey them as if they were yours. That's what an actor does. Actors serve as a communications device that authentically recreates the writer's intention. You probably can use a class that hones your skills in authenticity and delivery. But obviously, you can get along in the world without following my coaching. If that's the case, I urge you to reframe your view of this assignment. Consider this assignment as a tool sharpener for your mind. How useful would more efficient mind tools be? Remember, effective tools help make the doorway in the wall identifiable even sooner. How you manage learning new habits or new skills or anything is determined by who's winning the battle between you and your time management. The Ed Sullivan Show was a staple of American entertainment from the early 1950s until 1971. Ed Sullivan served as the host and the producer, and he was famous for introducing to the world memorable acts who performed on this TV show. If you're old enough, or if you've watched clips of the show, you know that the likes of Elvis Presley, the Beatles, and countless other acts and talented people graced that stage for all those years. And in the For What It's Worth department, the theater where the Sullivan Show took place is now home to the CBS Late Show. One of the acts that just sticks out in my memory is a man who would come out on stage and start to spin 1, then 2, and then a whole bunch of breakable plates on the end of a series of upright sticks placed in a row on a table. In addition to spinning the plates, he was performing other tasks with glasses and silverware. But his main objective was to get and keep as many plates spinning on top of those sticks as possible while performing those other tasks. This act represented the exhilaration and the frustration of multitasking. Now, when one of the plates started to fall, the man would scamper over and set it spinning once again, and as more and more of the plates were added to the spinning equation, what started up as a scamper ended up in a chaotic mad dash to make sure that wobbly plates did not crash to the ground. As the man attended to the wobblers, he left all the other plates at risk. And while all of this was taking place, the man would attempt to get even more plates spinning. Obviously, this act combined entertainment value, excitement, and what seemed like high drama at the time. Now, in your daily life, you're faced with situation after situation that calls for you to keep your plate spinning. You probably get caught up in the excitement and drama of keeping all your plates spinning rather than concentrating on the most valuable of your projects and priorities. When expected and unexpected tasks are thrust upon you each day, you have no choice but to handle these projects the best you know how. But the best you know how is usually less productive than you would like. And as you get closer and closer to a state of overwhelm, you fall back to the way you usually handle this type of bombardment. Humans have a tendency at this point to focus on the plate that gives off the "I need attention" sign. And unfortunately, some of the plates in your life are more important than the others. But still, you tend to tackle the task or the whim that's staring you in the face. During these hectic moments, when you sense that events are leaving your control, we all revert to action-based habits that you acquired as you grew up. How you manage your responsibilities today is probably not that different from the way you handled your responsibilities when you were younger. These action habits and the results that they generate are tied directly to your productivity or lack thereof. What if your habit-based winging it is what's keeping you from being as effective as you know you can be? What is your systematic approach for tackling the most important tasks in your life? I'm always pleased when clients increase their effectiveness using my communication systems. But let's face it, unless new systems become your preferred action habit, you will fall back on the old way of doing things. When I was younger, I was just as guilty of that as anyone. Whenever I saw my plates begin to wobble, I was drawn like a cartoon character to a computer game or some other convenient device that kept me from addressing the important issues at hand. Looking back, sometimes I ignored the plates and things came crashing down. To paraphrase an infamous saying from the 60s, I tuned out, I turned off, and I dropped out. This is a decidedly unproductive approach to project management. So, you're dashing around madly to protect or maintain your various projects. You have to maintain focus. You find yourself in the middle of an important assignment or responsibility, and your phone rings. You must stay focused, but your phone is ringing. How comfortable are you allowing the phone to go unanswered? You know that the call will be picked up by a phone answering convenience, yet you're compelled by some mysterious force to grab hold of the receiver, put it to your ear, and say, "Hello?" You responded to your urgent need to answer. Vital is defined as absolutely necessary or important or essential. Was the call vital? Was the call critical? Was the call crucial? What would happen if you didn't answer the phone? What if you kept doing what you really needed to be doing? What would happen if you could stay with your most important task until completion? I'm suggesting you make a distinction between those events in your life that are urgent and those that are vital. You spend valuable time on activities that are seemingly important only to find out that the time you spent on these matters kept you from performing tasks that were truly vital. Here are a few questions to ponder as you prioritize your tasks. And these questions are loosely based on the structure of results. A. What's important to you about completing the task? B. What will happen if you complete the task? C. What will happen if you don't complete the task? And D. What's stopping you from completing the task? Here's probably the best piece of time management coaching I've ever found. You might want to try it. 1. List the most important tasks in your life. 2. Prioritize these tasks. And 3. Do them. All right, I have a confession I need to make. The last couple of episodes, I've been sharing with you the opening of the prelude. I went back and I listened to episode 8, where I first introduced you to the prelude, and I seem to have changed the wording. So rather than trust myself in my exuberance to try and get you to learn something that's just flowing off the top of my head, I want to repeat the way you heard it in the earlier episode. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the excerpt from the earlier episode. I believe it'll be exactly the same. Here is the prelude once again, and remember, every question you ask is designed to uncover a no, not create one. Mr. Prospect, before we start our conversation, please understand that I'm not sure whether or not you have a need for what I provide because I don't have enough information yet. So if it's okay, I'd like to ask you a few questions, and you might have some for me, and based on my experience, within a few minutes, we'll know whether or not there's a reason for us to move forward. Is that an okay way to start? Contained in the prelude are at least 3 mutually beneficial agreements. Did you identify them? First, you have an agreement to ask each other some questions. You both have the freedom to decide if the conversation proceeds past the few-minute mark, and you have an agreement to begin the communication in this agreed-upon fashion. By offering these choices to the prospect, we are providing them with implied control, as covered in Episode 6. You want your prospect to be sitting comfortably in the driver's seat. In return, you get the opportunity to proceed with the communication with your set of rules in place. Now it's time to follow the prelude with another request for an agreement. And if anywhere in our conversation, Mr. Prospect, you come to the conclusion that my product or service is not for you, how comfortable will you be telling me that? Prospects love this. It buys them an opportunity to get off the hook, so to speak. But wait for their answer. After they say it, will be comfortable to say no if called for, thank them, and then move to your next agreement. Great. Also, I'd really like to avoid ending our conversation with you saying maybe or I want to think about it. I bring this up because in a lot of cases, people will say maybe or I want to think about it as a polite substitute for what? Wait for your answer. Remember, when you say it, it's selling. When they say it, it's true. So wait for their answer. They will invariably say no. Acknowledge their honesty and assure them, it's fine if you really need to think about it or you need more information before we proceed, but my request is that you avoid using maybe or I want to think about it as a substitute for no, okay? Once again, they will probably agree. But if at any point you start to sense the prospect becoming adversarial or ornery with your MBAs, you get to ask them another type of question. You get to ask them the type of question you've always wanted to ask prospects, but you thought it might be inappropriate. Such as, Mr. Prospect, you seem less than interested in proceeding in the way I'm suggesting. Is that a reasonable observation? If they say yes, ask them how they would like to proceed. If their answer is unacceptable, you already have the choice of terminating the call and avoiding a problem client. Those who use the yes formula on a regular basis find that there's an additional perk. You can say or ask any question you want as long as you have a smile on your face and ask from a standpoint of curiosity. But in return, you must avoid the tendency to make their responses and actions mean anything about you. It's about your communication. Remember, the meaning of your communication is the response that you get. Now, here's something you heard me say a few episodes ago. And I know it's harsh, but your prospects really don't care about you. They don't care about your product or your service. They don't care what your product or service does or how it does it. All a prospect cares about is what you or your product or service can do for them. Does your product solve their problem? Stay curious. Stay neutral. It may be hard at first. However, this is one of the key stress reducers in this entire system. Stay curious. You can remember to do this by remembering the ingredient in the yes formula, can. Curious, authentic, and neutral. Now you can add that other A in there about being apart from the problem. I find that very helpful. Yes, that's exactly how I said it in episode 7. Wow, the wonders of digital recording. All right, if you're in a rush, what I suggest is that you go back to episode 7, listen to the entire segment regarding the prelude, and learn it. Learn it so that you can go out and use it this week. Remember our quote, for those things you have to learn before you do them, you learn by doing them. This is Ike Krieger. See you next time.